What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more J-drama score, and I'm reacting to a piece of music from a particular show for the first time. So yeah, this show is called Guilty. The full name, and translated into English, means Guilty, the woman with a contract with the devil, or the woman under contract with the devil. It's a show. There's a few things to say about it. First thing I would say is it's a show that, like, it's a crime drama, it's a revenge drama, it's Shakespearean in that, like, it's sort of a beautiful tragedy. It is a show, though, that, like, there's a lot of sort of, like, cultural things, not only in terms of, like, some of the ways the characters interact, but also just the way that some of the scenes are, like, shot and play out. Which is to say, there's a lot of J-dramas that, it's like a show you might see in any country, but there are other J-dramas where, like, there's more culturally specific elements, or like the way the show plays out and the way that characters have like certain names and so on. It's just a bit more of like a specific like J-drama flavor. I would say this show is a bit more like that, meaning if I were to recommend it to someone, I would maybe let them see some other shows first, get a sense of like what J-drama is like or so on, then I would maybe recommend this one. But yeah, like I said, it's like a crime drama. It's about a character played by, what is her name again? It's Miho Kano, and I don't know how they're rendering it here, whether it's given name and surname like we do in sort of English-speaking countries, or whether, like in Japan, it's surname first and then given name. But yeah, she actually won an award for this performance. She plays a woman who, to speak as generally as possible, she was wronged years earlier, and sort of, someone she knows was wronged. And there are a number of people, it turns out, who are responsible, and a lot of these people are very powerful figures in government and police. And she's slowly going through and killing them one by one, and doing so in a way that, like, they know who's doing it, they know why it's happening, and it's done in a way that is, like, particularly suited or, like, perfect to kill that individual, given what they did, whatever their role was in the unethical things that happened in the past. So the main actor, the male lead in the show, is played by Tamaki Hiroshi, known most famously to me as Chiaki-kun in Norime Cantabile, or Cantabile, sorry. But yeah, he plays a sort of jaded detective, a detective who's like, he's good at what he does, but he's drinking a little too much. He's like, out with women maybe a little too much. He's sort of like, ignoring some of his responsibilities at work to the point where there's other people like, yo, like, are you still an ace detective? Like, your reputation says you are. Like, you look like you're slipping, man. But he gets assigned to this case, and he starts trying to figure out who is murdering these people, and seemingly in very deliberate and sort of like macabre ways. He also, at the same time, happens to meet a woman who looks like this woman. No, but he meets the killer without realizing she's the killer, and they start. And in outside of her revenge plot, she's a very sweet sort of person who might have been a sweet person overall had bad things not happened to her. And so they start developing a little bit, but she eventually kind of pushes him away. Not only because he's a detective and she's aware that, like, he could eventually figure out what's going on and stop her revenge plot from happening, but also because she doesn't want him to get, like, hurt. Like, she's gonna do this even if it means that she has to sacrifice herself, even if she gets caught and, executed or whatever, she's gonna do it. So she doesn't want him to get attached, because then it's like, the moment this jaded detective finds a little bit of love, oh, by the way, you fell in love with someone who is, doing some very bad things, or at least things which maybe are justified in one sense, but which are very criminal in another. So yeah, it's this weird dynamic where, as the show goes along, eventually the male detective realizes that she is at the very least involved in these killings, even if she's not the one doing it directly. And indeed, there's, another subplot about this detective who suddenly left the force. No one knows where he went. He just, like, seemingly abandoned his position and his family and whatever. Well, you find out he was sort of indirectly involved in what happened. She threatened him, but he eventually figured out that, oh, like, you did get wronged and I didn't realize I was a part of that, so he kind of helps her. So there's a lot of stuff going on, but bottom line, it's a wicked story about revenge. A lot of people are killed. I won't spoil it, but like I said, it's Shakespearean, so like at the end it's not a happy, like, well, you know, he stops her from killing everyone and they decide they're going to be together and they go live in a house together. It's not like that. So yeah, it's a cool show. Like I said, Guilty is sort of the main name. Translated into English, the full title is Guilty, the Woman Under Contract with the Devil. And as I said, it just has a lot of great acting performances. And indeed, the main cast, like if you see J-dramas, like pretty much everyone in it is like pretty prominent. Like you'll have seen them in other shows. So the soundtrack, seen here, it's another one where like at least half the tunes are written in like kanji and hiragana, so I had to look it up. This one, as it turns out, and it's not surprising because it's used very prominently throughout the show, it's called Main Theme. So this is the main theme of Guilty Akuma to Keiyakushita Onna, which again, that means the woman under contract from the devil. The person who did the soundtrack, the composer for this score is Sumitomo Horihito, and he actually is like a saxophonist as well as a composer, which, you know, I love the sax. People who follow this channel will know that. But yeah, Sumitomo Horihito did the soundtrack. This is, as I said, the main theme from the show Guilty, which is from 2010. dark visual imagery in the show. I feel like it really hits me. again, it really captures the vibe of the show. It's just, you know, it's as perfect a theme as you could write. Like, if you just saw the show with no background music and you were like, okay, so you've seen it, write a piece of music that fits that. Again, there's nothing better that could go with it. So yeah, shout out to, let me make sure I'm getting it right again, Sumitomo Horihito. Yeah, big shout out to him. And again, a saxophonist, so, you know, especially, or that he has a leg up already in terms of the way I would view his work. But yeah, like I said, it's a cool show. Maybe not a show that I would introduce someone to J-drama with. I'd start with something a bit more, let's say, like universally accessible, rather than, you know, having some cultural layers that might be more appreciated or at least understandable with a little more experience of watching J-drama. But yeah, there's some more cool tunes in the soundtrack, and I would argue, or not I would argue, I should say, there are several tracks in the soundtrack that are like hip-hop tracks, and they like have English. So like, I don't know if the people like rhyming on the album are like vocalists like from Japan, but who happen to like speak pretty good English, or if they hired like, and because it sounds like American English, not even, you know, UK English. So I wonder if maybe the, you know, music director here brought in a like vocal group or like a hip hop group. So I'll have to look a little bit more closely at the soundtrack, which again, a lot of the information is in Japanese characters, which I don't read, so I'll have to see what I can do. But bottom line, let me know what you think of the tune. I will see you next time. Peace.